The sound of someone hammering on my front door at 7:30 a.m. jolted me awake like a fire alarm. My heart pounded as I rolled out of bed, hair a tangled mess and mouth dry. I'd been up late the night before working on a project and hadn't even had my first cup of coffee. Another round of furious knocking. All right, all right. I groaned, stumbling toward the front door. Who the hell is knocking like the house is on fire? I yanked it open with more force than necessary, and there she was, Karen, platinum blonde bob-styled, like she was permanently stuck in a 2003 PDA meeting. Oversized sunglasses perched on her head, Chanel-inspired tracksuit that screamed suburban dictator, and her trademark, "I want to speak to your manager" scowl etched into her Botox-stiff face. "Good morning, neighbor," she cooed in a tone so falsely sweet it gave me a cavity. "I'm here to inform you that your disgusting lawn decorations are in direct violation of HOA bylaws." I blinked at her, still not fully awake. "My what?" She pointed with the dramatic flourish of someone who clearly practiced in a mirror. "Those," she sneered, gesturing at the two small, slightly chipped garden gnomes by my porch steps. One held a fishing rod, the other a tiny beer mug. I squinted. "You woke me up over gnomes?" Karen's lips twitched into a triumphant little smile. "They're tacky and lower property values. Remove them by tomorrow, or there will be consequences." I stared at her for a moment, then laughed. "Karen, they're garden gnomes, not a meth lab." Her smile tightened. "Rules are rules." And with that, she spun on her heel and stomped off down the path like she'd just laid down divine judgment. Oh, she had no idea who she was messing with. Karen wasn't just any nosy neighbor. No. She was the self-appointed empress of our subdivision, the president of the Homeowners Association. And she wielded her minuscule sliver of power like a medieval warlord. At first, I thought she'd get bored and move on. Maybe find a mailbox that wasn't regulation beige or a teenager parked 2 inches over the curb. But no, she fixated on me like a heat-seeking missile. Within a week, I had 3 violation notices tucked under my door, grass measured 0.2 inches above acceptable limit. Violation. Trash cans left curbside for 7 minutes, past pickup. Violation. Vehicle parked at a slight angle in driveway. Aesthetic disruption. Violation. I laughed them off and tossed them in the recycling. Big mistake. A few days later, I came home from work, groceries in hand, and froze. The gnomes were gone. All that remained was a single typed note taped to my door. Per HOA regulations, unauthorized items have been confiscated. A $50 fine must be paid for their return. I saw red. The next morning, I woke up to the familiar flash of red and blue lights strobing through my blinds. I rushed to the window, and sure enough, a squad car idled in my driveway. Karen stood on the porch, arms folded like she was posing for a local hero calendar, her smug grin stretching ear to ear. There was a knock. I opened the door. The officer cleared his throat. "Ma'am, we've received a complaint about repeated HOA violations and threatening behavior." I blinked. "Threatening?" Karen interjected, voice high and dramatic. "She's been hostile, ignoring warnings, intimidating HOA leadership." The cop rubbed the back of his neck and finally looked up. Then he paused. His eyes widened. "Jess?" I grinned. "Hey, big bro." Karen's face went ghost pale. "Brother," she choked. "Sheriff Daniels," he said, shifting his weight with a sigh. "And I'm very familiar with the situation now." Karen tried to recover. "Well, surely you understand, rules are rules," he cut her off. "And stealing someone's property is a crime." By noon, I had my gnomes back. Karen stood on my front lawn, red-faced, as my brother handed me a small box. Inside were the gnomes, dusty but unharmed. Nestled between them was an official notice. "This letter serves as confirmation that the HOA president unlawfully removed private property and issued an illegitimate fine. All penalties are nullified." Sheriff Daniels leaned in, voice low. "You want to press charges?" I considered it. Watching Karen fumble through community service for petty theft was tempting. But I had a better idea. "Nah," I said, I think public humiliation will do just fine. The HOA held their monthly meeting in the clubhouse, usually a sleepy affair involving stale cookies and arguments over mulch colors. But this time, word had spread. The place was packed. Karen stood at the front, clearly rattled, papers shaking slightly in her hands. "I'd like to, address recent events," she said, her voice tight. "There was a misunderstanding regarding certain lawn ornaments. I crossed my arms, enjoying every moment. My actions were perhaps overzealous," she continued, "and for that I apologize to Ms. Daniels." There was a pause. Then someone in the back clapped. Another joined in. Soon, a slow, sarcastic wave of applause echoed through the room. Karen flushed crimson. Back home, I placed my gnomes in their original spot on the porch. But now, they stood on a small stone pedestal. Between them, a new addition, a tiny wooden sign hand-painted by my niece. Protected by the sheriff's department, word traveled fast. Within days, the HOA suddenly became very reasonable. Notices stopped. Karen avoided me like I had the plague. At Halloween, kids asked to take selfies with the gnomes. They became local legends. I started getting anonymous gifts, gnome-themed socks, mugs, even a garden flag that read "Gnome's Sweet Gnome." The neighborhood had spoken. Karen eventually stepped down from the HOA to focus on personal matters, which I interpreted as after being roasted by the entire neighborhood. The new president, a retired teacher named Mrs. Lee, who believed in common sense, community potlucks, and live and let live policies. Peace returned, but the gnome stayed. To this day, whenever I hear a knock on my door, I glance at them and smile. Don't mess with people, especially if their brother carries a badge and their lawn ornaments carry legendary status. Thanks for listening to our story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more real-life stories that inspire, entertain, and sometimes make you cheer out loud.